Hey guys, welcome back to part 2 of my team career for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. If you missed the first video, go back and check it out. It was where we went and we created our team, and we also had the Bahrain GP. A couple of admin things to go through before the next Grand Prix. I put in an event to boost my driver's skill, and also did an upgrade to the powertrain from some of the resource points that I gained from the Bahrain GP, as you can see, and also put on a social media perk to get some extra driver acclaim. Also had one of these driver situations, so I put it on awareness because I think the awareness gives our second driver the ability to earn more resource points throughout the practice programs each weekend. So I went in and I did this little new feature that they've got for F122, where you take out the supercars, and this one is just a average time thing. You get 3 attempts to, it's a bit like Gran Turismo, bronze, silver, gold. Second attempt I got the silver, and then on the third attempt clouded the wall at the end there, but I ended up getting the gold. So that's a cool little feature. It does remind me a lot of the licenses that you do on Gran Turismo. It's a cool little thing that they're adding in. I guess it's just something they're going to build on going forward. Also, this is the first time I've ever seen the Jeddah track as far as actually having to race it physically myself. So I spent a little bit of time on time trial, and once again, as I said in the previous video, and you saw in the previous video, the game froze, but it was only the one time. And I'm predicting maybe it's something to do with being online while you do stuff. So maybe if you're online, there's something that makes it glitch. I'm not sure. I didn't experience it throughout the rest of this whole race, Saudi Arabia. So it could have been just the fact that I was online that's making it freeze. I'm not sure. I'm sure there'll be a patch, but I would not be the only one having this issue. So as I've covered in the first 2 videos that I've made on this channel, I've got a fair bit of catching up to do with F1 games. I haven't played them in any kind of serious nature for about 10 years. So I need a lot of practice at some of these new tracks that I'm not familiar with. This one actually wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, but with the walls being so close and everything, but ended up actually not being too bad. I'm still like 6 seconds off the pace of everyone else, but that's to be expected when you're using the setup that I'm using, just my joystick and everything, and that I haven't got a lot of experience on these new versions of the games. So we're in the practice sessions now for the Saudi Arabian GP, and these little corners here are the ones that will catch me out a lot. Once you get it down, it's very cool. Like, you could really nail it through there, but yeah, if you get it wrong, especially on the joypad, if you don't have it, it's not like a steering wheel, I guess, where you can just kind of hold it where you want it to be. Whereas if you just sort of go offline slightly with the joystick, it's hard to catch it. For me anyway, at this point in time. So doing all these programs, and as I said in the last video, I'm only trying to do them once to get a bit of realism on the development phase, because I've got it all set to standard, and I don't want to be just running lap after lap trying to hit the perfect score on all these development programs. So really I'm only hitting it once, maybe twice, in case maybe I did a little bit of a dodgy run. But as you can see, like green red, I think even with this, the qualifying run that I had to do was a bit perplexing, because I was quite fast comparably. Like, I'm only a tenth, 2/10 off of Leclerc, and I didn't pass the program. So it was something that was also worrying me about, do I have this set too easy? But based on the first race, I don't think it was. And it can be a little bit hard to get a gauge on where you are in the practice sessions because all the different teams are running different programs, you know, heavy fuel loads, all that sort of stuff. You don't really know where you're at until you get to qualifying. In the first session, I was pretty quick, but then look, like the second session, I'm off my teammate by about 4/10, even though he was actually running on the soft tire. Went and did some upgrades because I got some more resource points. I just hit that gearbox reliability upgrade because I think that was pretty much the only thing that I could actually do at that point in time. Qualifying now, and this is where we find out the genuine pace of myself and the car around this track. And like I said before, I was actually surprised at how quickly I got to grips with this one. I mean, this wasn't perfect, I still made mistakes, but yeah, I thought it was going to be a lot worse, like Monaco. This first run was really just about trying to keep it clean, getting a banker lap in. I know that you could probably go a lot harder through there. I've seen other people going through there much quicker than I was just then, but that's kind of the control I have at the moment over it. I am still going through a bit of a learning curve on getting quick at the game again, and also just learning how these new cars handle. So hit the line here with a 33.8, not overly impressive, but also my teammate was a fair way off me as well. So he's a good almost 2 seconds back from me. So I wasn't keen to see myself be too far up because I don't want to be dominating my teammate. That means I've got it set too easy, in my opinion. Second run, just trying to improve a little bit on my time. It wasn't very easy to do it for some reason. I just felt like the track was just getting slower, and then I ended up binning the car. Just caught a bit of the curb too much and grabbed and hit the wall. And as I've mentioned before, I am using flashbacks and letting you guys know at the end where I did use the flashback. So if you want to see that, just wait till the end of the video and then you can check out every time I made a blue, every time I put it in the wall, every time I spun it. But it wasn't too bad. I still was way back down the grid now, but you know, not too far off my teammate. But that's where we're starting, 18th. Let's get into the race.
We're here today on the shores of the Red Sea in the lower Hejaz Mountains to visit one of the newest circuits in the Formula One calendar, Jeddah, home to what we all hope is going to be a thrilling Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. So let's take a look at a topographical map of the Jeddah Street circuit. As you can see, a number of challenging corners for the drivers to master here. We'll see just how much the teams have benefited from their time spent in practice this weekend. And like many street circuits, this track has the potential to punish drivers that get it wrong. Let's hope we avoid any safety cars today. Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. Max Verstappen put in a fantastic lap yesterday and he'll start from pole position. And it's Charles Leclerc in P2. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Sainz, Hamilton, Sergio Perez and Russell, Fernando Alonso, Norris, Ocon and Pierre Gasly, Magnussen, Tsunoda, Valtteri Bottas. They've taken a grid penalty, and Mick Schumacher, Ricciardo, Vettel, Guan Yu Zhou, the owner-driver, Stroll, Albon, Alessio De Leda and Nicholas Latifi. And with preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track. Anthony Davidson joins me once again in the commentary box, and it's fantastic to have you here with us today. But I'm curious, as a man with experience out on the track, how do you stop those pre-race nerves from becoming overwhelming when you're lining up on the grid?
Well, I imagine they'll be starting to feel the adrenaline as they anticipate the run down into turn one, a bit like preparing to go into battle. The unknown situation will bring nerves, but that's a good thing. It will keep them focused on the moment and on their surroundings as we build towards the start of the Grand Prix.
As per the Bahrain GP, this was another one-stop recommended strategy, and I was going to go for the hard again. That's just my favorite thing to do. Hard to the softer compound, so that we have the lighter car and more grip towards the end of the race. Once again, we're just going to come in here and do the formation lap via the broadcast. I really enjoy this feature. It's cool. Gets you in the mood a little bit, you know, like you're watching a real race, and the way you don't have to actually drive it physically yourself, warm the tires or anything, and you can just sort of, it skips most of the lap. You just basically do the start, they do a little corner here or there like this from this viewpoint, and then you're on the grid. So I like that about it, as per the safety car periods as well, where they skip ahead to where you get back to the race as well, just through the broadcast. I think it's a very enjoyable feature to have in the game. Anyway, this is my first Saudi Arabian GP, and let's see how we go. Let's hope that maybe we can make an improvement on the last race. Going to be dicey off the line, especially into that first little chicane. It really narrows, and there's a lot of people going to be trying to fight for position there. We get up the inside of a few of the guys here. 17th position, so gained a couple. Just going alongside Danny Rick and able to put the move on him, but he is hanging around there, around the outside. And once again, just all this first section is going to be really tight. Try not to put it into the wall or into someone else. And you see there, I cop a bit of loss of traction and almost do that exact thing and put it in the wall. Had to relinquish the position to Latifi because I went wide again, and then my teammate, I didn't actually kind of know he was there, and he's damaged his wing for the second race in a row on the first lap. So I presume he's going to be coming into the pits straight away, and his race is pretty much over unless we have a safety car. It's coming to the end of the first lap now, and as you can see right now, my teammate Alessio Deletta, he's going to pull off into the pits and tank another race. So not a good start for him. Questions already being asked 2 races into his career with the team, and we'll see what he does in some of the upcoming races and whether or not he's someone who's going to be sticking around for the long term. With me being at the back, there wasn't a lot going on except me trying to stick with the Williams on my hard tires, and the main battle was up front for 3rd position between Leclerc, Hamilton and Sainz. And Hamilton makes the move on Leclerc, just coming onto the main straight. But with this long straight and DRS, it's a bit of a back and forth battle. Easy to just take that position straight back. As we see Leclerc going around the outside, which gives him the inside on the exit of the chicane, and now they're going to go too wide down this first little straight here, and there's no real room for 2 people to go through there at any kind of pace, and Leclerc takes the position back that he just lost. Actually looks a bit more pedestrian going through here with the AI than it does for me when I'm having to wrestle my way through that little section. So you can see Perez and George Russell catching up to the back of this battle. The more they dice and jockey for position, the more time they're just giving up to Perez and Russell, and Sainz has already started to make a bit of a gap and is well out of DRS range now for Leclerc. So kind of not working together to stick with 2nd position. Sainz has been able to get away, and now it's going to end up being a 4-way battle very, very soon for 3rd position. This is Kevin Magnussen, and this is the massive pack in front of me. It goes all the way back to the Williams, and a yellow flag, and it is Magnussen. Magnussen is pulling off. He's lost power, got some kind of fault going on, and he's out of the race. So unlucky there for the Haas. And I actually back off coming through here because I thought it might have been an accident, but just for no reason lost a bunch of time. And as you can see, I'm about 5 seconds back from Latifi. The hard tyres on this track took a little while to get going, so it was a bit of a process. Getting in a groove as well, new track. I was making little errors. I will say that I didn't make as many errors as I did in the first race in Bahrain. I think I really started to get to grips with kind of how these new cars handle and the bite points with grip exiting corners. I got a lot better at not spinning out. So this is the group of cars that is just in front of me 5 seconds down the road. This is Bottas coming up on Daniel Ricciardo. Once again, just looks so pedestrian for them coming through that section, whereas for me it just feels like it's all action when you're going through there. And Bottas is going to make a move on Ricciardo. Danny Rick, my fellow countryman, but is unable to make it stick. The McLaren just having a little bit too much going through there. It's kind of sad seeing how far back that McLaren is. This is Pierre Gasly chasing up to the back of Bottas now. See, the more they squabble on this track, the more you give an opportunity for anyone that's behind you to get right into the action. Just because I think because it's so condensed, there's not a lot of space for you to go anywhere. If you make a mistake or if you're having to jockey with someone sitting next to you like this, it just allows everyone behind you to come into the play. And anyone that's in front of you is just going to have an opportunity to get away. As you can see, Mick's a lot further away from Dan now than he was one lap prior. Bottas trying to hold off Gasly here, and that classic move, you get the outside run, you can get that inside run coming out of the exit that corner, and then try and get the move done on the outside when you can squeeze them into that little kink. And Bottas keeping his nose in there and is able to, who cannot make the move stick. And this is actually Zhou Guanyu now coming into the action because of this little battle, and he's going to go straight up behind Pierre Gasly. Back up to the battle for third position, and Hamilton has got past Leclerc at some point here, and now you can see Perez and Russell are right on his tail. So this is a good little fight we got going on here for third position. Sainz is just out of view, so probably a couple of seconds up the road. And interesting to see that the Mercedes is so early in the season, so early in this game's life. They're right up there already mixing it for podium positions. It's not so much like it is in real life. They had to sort of play a bit of catch up. But in my version in this game, they are pretty much right up there with the Ferraris for the most part. So with DRS down the main straight, Leclerc has come straight up onto the back of the Mercedes of Lewis Hamilton, and be interesting to see how this one plays out because there's so many good drivers in this group here and so many capable cars of taking the position. With the way Max is going though, you would fancy Perez has the quickest car there, and maybe due to the nature of the track, with the ability to pass at all points of the track, the Mercedes is able to play more of a blocking game. Moving ahead now, and this is Leclerc once again going to make the move on Lewis Hamilton, taking that outside run into turn 1, gives himself the inside run into turn 2 and down this little straight here. They go side by side, and they also have Perez for company. We are on board with George Russell as they all come through this little twisty section. With that section, if you don't really get a nose in early in those first couple of corners, then you kind of have to resign yourself to going through in single file because no one's unsettled and you don't really have enough chance to get a move done. As Leclerc breaks away a little bit, Perez gets the move done on Lewis Hamilton. So Hamilton has now lost 2 positions in the space of less than a lap, and I would say is also at risk of losing another one to his teammate in George Russell. Perez does look like he has the speed. He's very, very quickly straight onto the back of that Ferrari of Charles Leclerc. And he's already around the outside here, coming down that back straight before they turn on to the main straight. Doesn't get the move done, but he's going to have DRS as they go over the start-finish line. George Russell pits, going for the undercut. Maybe that's going to work. He might be able to jump these guys, get out of this battle. Perez sticking it down the inside, doing a Charles Leclerc move. And they both go side by side down to this first little kink, and Leclerc getting Leclerc gets squeezed by Perez, and Perez makes the move. And now we'll get to see if the Red Bull does just have the superior pace and if Perez is able to break away. And as they squabble, Hamilton is now back up onto the back of Leclerc. So as we see here, this is me. I caught the back of Russell's pit stop. So he's just come out just in front of me, which means he's behind that big gaggle of cars that's in front of me with the Williams, the Aston Martins, the Alfa Romeos, and I think Daniel Ricciardo's in there. So yeah, maybe he's going to get caught out if he can't make quick work of those guys. And Perez does not stay in front of Leclerc. Leclerc has fought back and has used DRS to his advantage throughout the lap and has taken the position back, but Perez has DRS again down this straight and is going to try and make a move on Leclerc, and Leclerc goes straight on, which allows Lewis Hamilton to come up the inside. So constantly changing positions here between these guys for third position. Leclerc just losing a bit of touch now with those two due to that little slip, but I would assume he'll be straight back up on the back of this battle pretty soon. This is Max Verstappen. He's 5 seconds out in the front, almost 6 seconds, just cruising away from Carlos Sainz, who also has a big gap over Sergio Perez and that group of 3 that we got going on there, Perez, Hamilton and Leclerc. So a pretty comfortable first and second at the moment, barring any safety cars or any failures or anything on the leading 2. Now this is Hamilton. Perez is unable to drop him, so the DRS is really doing its job at keeping this battle really close and tight. No one's able to make a move to get away. Wow. Hamilton getting really close to the wall there and having to duck and dive all over the place. And Perez goes straight on this time. And Verstappen goes into the pit. So Hamilton through on Perez now as he pits. And so does Leclerc. And Perez continues. So the overcut for Perez potentially with what seems to be the superior car at this track. Maybe he's hoping that he can get some laps in and without the assistance of DRS from Hamilton and Leclerc could maybe grab a gap on them and come out with fresher tires for the end of the race. Pretty stock standard stop from Verstappen. And Hamilton and Leclerc get out crucially just in front of that big group of cars, which leaves George Russell at the back of it. So that has backfired on him. And he's now stuck in that group. So this is Perez. He's done that extra lap, and you would assume, and yes, he comes into the pits. So where is he going to come out in relation to Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc? Ooh, a little bit of a, look like a bit of a dink there in the pit stop, but pretty clean. Sainz way ahead in second position. And here come Hamilton and Leclerc. This is going to be close. Perez, does he get it done? Oh, they are side by side, but gets enough traction out of the exit. And Perez keeps the position after the pit stops. And the battle resumes between these three. It's not been easy to tell who has the advantage, but going by the pace of Max, you would think that if Perez can get out of DRS range, then he might have a chance of getting away from these two. But the way Hamilton and Leclerc have been battling since the beginning of the race, it's hard to see anyone getting that position done, and this could actually go right to the end of the race. So here's me, just a little update. I'm still yet to pit, running those hard tires as long as I can, and then hopefully once I put those medium tires on, I can start to reel in the Williams, the Aston Martins, and maybe a few of the cars ahead of them. I felt like I did a lot better at this race than I expected. I picked this truck up really well. So there's a lot I still need to iron out with the way I take some of these corners. But overall, I was expecting that this was going to be super difficult to race at, but just because of the nature of how tight all the roads are, with the barriers being right there. As far as the track goes, I think it's not bad. I think it's like better than that race that never happened in Vietnam, better than that track. Probably better than the Valencia track. But not one of the best tracks, but it's still fun.
Okay, be aware the car behind is catching you by 5 tenths a lap, 5 tenths. I've got some information on Hamilton for you. Okay, they're slowing down. It seems like there's some kind of problem with their car.
Oh, Hamilton with a problem now. So it's this terminal. And you can see Perez is gone. You can't even see Perez anymore. So Perez has dropped him, and Leclerc is all over the back of Lewis here. And, wow, almost clipping the wall there as he's trying to make a move. Wants to get past as soon as he can, because otherwise Sergio is just going to get away too far for Charles to make anything happen. And really running it close to the wall there, but that pace advantage was really obvious, and he was able to get past. Coming onto this back straight here, and even with DRS, you can see Lewis has got nothing. So there's definitely a serious issue with the car, and it's affecting his pace. Just skipping ahead a little bit here, and you can see, like, in one lap, Leclerc's put 3 seconds on Lewis, and now he's going to come under threat from Russell and Alonso, who's not far behind Russell as well. And you can just see, like, every few seconds, they're gaining a tenth. Look at that. Just visually, how far Leclerc has gotten away from Hamilton. Now he's got a serious issue with that car, and visually can see that George and Fernando are closing in quite rapidly. Like, they weren't in the background before, and now they're halfway down the track already towards catching up to Lewis. So that pit stop that kind of cost George with the issue, it's probably going to be a non-issue in the end because of Lewis's problem. So he might end up gaining that position back. I come in for my stop straight onto those medium tires. I think that little shimmy thing is just something in the game. It's not actually, it's just the lowering of the jack. It's not actually like a problem. So Ocon had some damage early in the race, so he's been handicapped a little bit and he's been running around at the back. He's not who I'm trying to catch. He's got a car that's way superior to mine. And I'm trying to get to... So I pick up a track limits warning there. And got away with one there, I think, because I backed off. But I'm trying to catch up to these Williams vehicles of Albon and Latifi, who is also keeping Stroll for company. One lap on now, and we can see that Russell is right on the tail of Lewis Hamilton. He's within DRS, and this could be the move. No, he's not going to get it done. Not this time, but you would think that not for long. And really, from a team perspective, Lewis should just be getting out the way, letting George through so he doesn't come under threat from Fernando. They don't need to be wasting time here and holding each other up when Lewis clearly has a problem with his car. George tries to go around the outside, but Hamilton fights it and they make contact. Not helpful, and then he really didn't make that easy. And not a real crisp overtaking maneuver, team order kind of strategy there. That was definitely a fight for position between the two, with one of the cars clearly having an issue that was unnecessary. And as has happened before, that's just allowed Alonso, with all that squabbling, to catch up to the back of Hamilton. And we move on to the next lap, and you can see Hamilton really struggling now because that Alpine is right on his tail. So Hamilton dropping a little bit like a stone through the field here to some of the more competitive cars. Now Alonso's going to get DRS through this section. Oh, runs it really close to the wall there as he tries to get the move done on Lewis. And yeah, you're not going to hold that going around the outside there. And Fernando gets it done. And even with that DRS, Hamilton doesn't have an answer with that issue that he's got with the car. So that should be Verstappen in first, now Sainz second, Perez third, Leclerc fourth, George Russell fifth, Alonso sixth, and now Hamilton is seventh after being up there fighting for the podium position. Now we switch back to myself, and I'm starting to make inroads on the Williams cars and some of these cars that are caught together in a big pack. It has kind of separated a little bit since the pit stop, so it's now just the Alpine of Ocon, who is really just trying to get through these guys. He was some 17 seconds behind me earlier in the race, so he's caught that margin up pretty quickly, and not someone that I'm fighting, as I said before. But it's the two Williams, and then we've got Stroll in the Aston Martin. So we're looking at potentially 3 positions still to be gained before the end of the race. As per Bahrain, Alessio Deletta, my teammate, is nowhere to be seen due to the damage when we had a coming together on the first lap. Yeah, trying to make a move where no move was to be made. I mean, you can see how quickly Ocon's just made light work of everyone. That's, what was he, like a lap ago? He was behind all these guys and he's just carved his way through pretty easily. Not in the same race. But what that's doing is, because Stroll is fighting this position, it's allowing myself and the Williams to get right on the back of this battle. And the more they do this, the better it is for me. Ocon is through now, and he'll just tear away into the distance. And now it's my turn. It's my time. Definitely a massive grip advantage through some of these longer corners with the alternate tire, the alternate strategy, with me being on those mediums, and also being a lot of laps fresher than the hard tires that Latifi and the guys ahead of him have got. Seeing a lot of Latifi in this game so far, which is not really a good thing, because I don't want to be back here for too much longer. But I think that once we get to some more of the better known tracks to myself, that I'm going to have a little bit more of an experience advantage and start hitting my straps with some of the results. With where I am now, my best hope could be for 16th position, which would be equal to what I got in Bahrain. And as these guys squabble ahead, it just allows me to keep closing in and keep getting in amongst it. It's amazing how everyone tries to go too wide through this whole section. It's just not really feasible. It's not smart in a way, because you're just costing each other time. But I cost myself time going through here due to my lack of experience on this track, and can never really get it just right, where I feel like I've hit all the apexes, I've hit all the gear changes perfectly, and yeah, that's going to take some work. Now me coming around the outside here on Latifi, and the move is done, and we're on the back of Stroll, who's lost the position to Albon. So I've got 4 laps basically to make this happen, or 3 and some change. I'm pretty much out of ERS, so I'm just going to be relying on DRS and the tire advantage that I have. As Stroll tries to make the move on Albon, and gets it done, as it allows me to close right up on them. And Ocon is just gone, as I said. He wasn't part of the same race. I try to keep clear. I don't want to have any incident with these guys. I thought I might actually have the straight line advantage and be able to go around the outside, but nothing doing there. This is where it gets a bit dicey. I just want to stay as close as I can going through here. Hope that they trip each other up a little bit, and then as we exit this section, get the run on them. I go a bit wide, and then Latifi, sensing an opportunity, tries to go down the inside, and I think he's damaged his wing. Not really the place to try and make a move. I hadn't lost that much speed that he had the right to make the pass there. And so he's now dropping off quite rapidly. He's already lost over a second through the last few corners with that damage, and he'll be into the pits, you'd think, by the end of this lap. So now it's just down to us 3 here, me, Stroll, and Albon. I go wide through that one. That one's still a bit of a tricky one for me, and cost myself possibly getting DRS. No, just held on to it. Stroll going around the outside of Albon, and they make significant contact, tire to tire, wheel to wheel. This gives me a run down the inside of Stroll. But still, I just don't have the straight line speed to get the move done. So that's something I'm going to need to work on, I think, with the car. Get some more power as we go 3 wide down this first straight. And now the pinch point comes. There was nowhere for me to go there, and I'm off the track, and I backed off and I felt like it was dicey, but they gave me nowhere to go, and I had to come back on the track at some point, and then somehow I got away with not getting a penalty for that. But look, racing incident, we're all trying to fight for the same piece of track, and someone had to come out in front. Fortunately, it was me. It wasn't the cleanest of moves, but you just got to do what you got to do sometimes. Now I need to see if I actually have the pace to break away from these guys. Albon seems to be losing touch slightly with this little battle, but Stroll feeling like he can hang on. And as I say that, he makes a mistake and Albon's all over him. So just a quick update, go back to Lewis, and he actually got back past Fernando. So whatever problem he had seemed to rectify itself, unless Alonso had a problem. But then you look ahead, George Russell's got 8 seconds on Lewis now. So whatever that problem was, it was significant enough to basically destroy any chances of Lewis Hamilton finishing on the podium. Max Verstappen now into the final sector of the final lap of the race. Pretty comfortable race for him from start to finish. He got in front. He's led all the way, built a sizable gap, and has done it quite easily, if we're going to say. Max Verstappen wins the race, and that's 2 from 2 so far this season.
Okay. Nice. That was good.
Meanwhile, in backmarker land, Stroll has not given up on taking this 16th position from me. He's got DRS. He's going to go for a move. I have nothing to offer, but I'm going to stick it in there. And he actually gave me DRS by crossing the DRS line in front of me. So I got DRS down the straight. That's 16th position for me. Equal to the last race, but I still feel like I'm still getting to grips with everything on this game, but progress is being made.
So as they climb out of the car, the Red Bull team are ready and waiting to celebrate a thoroughly deserved win. Anthony, tell me, what was it that helped them achieve this success?
Well, this was a real team victory. They put together a solid strategy today that appeared well suited to the conditions out on track. The driver did everything that was expected of them in the moment to really execute the team's plan to perfection. A shining example of how F1 really is a team sport.
Red Bull put up an outstanding fight for the front position today, and it's great to see it paid off for them. They do so much for the sport that you can't help but be delighted by today's race win.
So Max Verstappen wins the race, second one of the season. That's 2 in a row for him. Carlos Sainz finishes second. Perez got that final step of the podium. And Red Bull strike back at Mercedes in the Constructors' Championship after what was not the best of performances from them. Ferrari, solid in second and fourth. And that's going to leave us with a pretty tight fight at the top of the constructors. The top 3 are going to be pretty close together. Myself, 16th, 19th for my teammate. about a half a second faster than him. I did have the lighter car at the end of the race with the fresher tires. So I think around the mark still, probably a little bit above him, which is what you would expect. I'm the #1 driver at Neona. Max Verstappen has established a sizable lead now with a 21-point gap over Charles Leclerc. Red Bull actually have quite a lead themselves in the constructors over Ferrari and Mercedes in third. I myself am in 19th position in the championship. My teammate is dead last. We are ahead of Williams in the constructors. Onward and upwards from here. So now it's time for the flashbacks. This was actually a couple of restarts to start off with, because his first corner, I knew it was going to be a problem. I tried my best to stay out of trouble, and the first part, like, I don't know, that was just, Williams was just trying to thread the eye of a needle there. This one was a bit worse. I suffered a lot of damage, and this one here was only one person's fault. I think we know who that is. I just need to get a bit more tentative with that. Silly little mistake there. Just practice, really. Same thing there, just grabbing too much throttle. I should have been more patient with this move, and that cost me my wing. This, yeah, that was another one of those things where I just needed to be more patient. This one, I went too hard, and yeah, like, they're just going to turn straight into you on that one. It's also on me. I didn't give enough space for 3 cars, and then just lost a bit of my wing, so I wasn't going to stick it out with 3 laps to go with no wing and have to make a pit stop. Anyway, guys, that was the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, my second ever F1 gaming video. As with my driving and everything else, making these videos is a learning process, so be gentle. I hope you enjoyed it. I will be back soon with the Australian Grand Prix, my home country, and also going to get a chance to run on that new revised Albert Park circuit. Also going to run a special livery for the Australian Grand Prix. Just going to do a little bit of a green and gold and just celebrate the fact that I'm going to be racing at home. Guys, if you enjoyed the video, remember to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.